about it, unless you got any questions on that.
On the hotel motel, are we getting paid from the actual houses that are rented, or?
Yeah, we got caught up on one of those, but those are the bed and breakfasts. They're probably where the majority of the money is coming from. One of the ones that we had to do some explaining to you on how that was finally decided that would be paid, and that was paid. The other one is the motel. I've noticed that, and we'll talk about this later on, 2 of their rooms, they've taken them off the market and put game rooms in. So that's not helping that. Okay. But yes, the ones that we do have are paying the payments quarterly. Is that right, quarterly?
Yes. The one that used to be a much more was the hotel, but since Rob took over, it's not been as well.
Yeah. We don't have any control over that. We'll just do what we need to do on some of the other topics. If there's no further questions, we'll go to Josh on the sewer plant.
The average flow for the plant was 50,000 gallons at 25% capacity. Max flow was 94,000 gallons. The rain totals were 4.75 inches. And then on the on-site lift station 3, lift station 5, they all had new control panels installed. The other lift stations, no issues. And then for the month of March, sampling was good. And go back to the on-site lift station. We just replaced the pump number 1 in there, and now pump number 2 starting to go bad. It's not completely quit working, but it's pumping really slow, and the hours up on it. It's pumping most of the day when it's pumping. So we'll get quotes to replace that before it completely burns out.
And Josh and I talked about it today. That's something we're not going to mess with. We'll go ahead and put another new pump in there. So our good quarterly report on the sewer will change. But that's a wasting asset, and that's one that we got to keep up and running and doing. We'll get 3 bids and we'll take a look at that. Any questions for Josh? Okay, I've already talked about the finance part of it, so we're going to jump down to the community center. We got a grant, we'll get a response to it the latter part of this year. Is it $2.25 million that we put in for, Jody? Yeah. That's coming through Martin Luttrell with some of his surplus funds before he leaves office. We'll hopefully keep our fingers crossed on that. Volunteer fire department. Michelle, I'll turn that over to you right now.
Okay, during the month of April, we had 8 emergency incidents, 1 structure fire, 1 motor vehicle accident, 2 EMS assist or landing zones, 1 fire alarm false alarm, 1 call disregarded, 1 medical call, and 1 traffic control hazard. Our training for the month was swim technique with entanglement and breaching, SCBA refresher, and wall orientation. Upcoming training will continue the Mayday training with all aspects applied. There's still no countywide training scheduled. Station improvements, we are working to repair the AC on the EMS side, and it still needs repair. We're waiting on a quote for a price. DSD, we have no updates. We do have 1 new member. We attended the Best of banquet. Our administrative updates, we renewed our SAM.gov account for grants, applied for 5 grants, signed up 5 members to SFA conference to get their CE credits, and signed up all members for VFIS training. We began ordering training equipment for our training grant and completed our order for our equipment grant.
Questions from Michelle? Go ahead and get your quote, get with Joey and work on that. See how that comes out. Okay, 3 capital projects we're going with right now is obviously our Parks and Wildlife behind us. We cut the trees out last month, and we took up all the asphalt on the old trail. Our goal this month is to cut in the trench for the new walkway and go ahead and put in the cushion down below that, which is 3/8 inch limestone, and then the cap on it is the crushed granite. Goes on the decomposed crushed granite. Once we get that in, we'll come back and put in our drainage crossings on it, and we're going to get quotes on, and this will be not next month, but the next month, quotes on the electrical and the water. I got to looking at the electrical. I haven't talked to 3B yet. I'm going to get them to quote it and 2 other ones. There's a tremendous amount of underground electricity with what we're trying to do with the lighting and the future restroom. So we'll see how that goes. We'll have to cross what we put in, and we'll either bore or either open trench it with a casing for the electrical that runs under into those inner areas where the playground is, and some of the interior lights. There's 38 lights. That would probably be, we'll go ahead and stub out for all the lights where they go, and then we will buy the lamps ourselves once we decide what's going to go in there on that trail. So with the lighting, that's a pretty big job. So we'll see how that comes out. But our goal is next month, or this month, to get the walking trail cut in. Any roots that are down that we cross that could feed back in there, we'll put a discourager. It's a herbicide where we make the cut on the root where it won't grow that way, it'll grow another way. So we don't continuously to have that under the trench of the stuff that we do. But eventually you'll deal with it, but it'd be easier to deal with it with the way that it's designed with the decomposed granite and the rock than if we had concrete or asphalt. We'd be spending a lot more money. So that'll be just as part of the job to have a good walking trail.
We're trenching electrical to the outside. How far off the walking trail are we?
We're probably, you've got some walkways that are 8 foot because of the turns, and you've got some that cross that are 6 foot. I would say 1.5 to 2 foot off, you'll have a base for with each of the lamps. On the outside.
That needs to be done first.
The problem with it being done first, and this is a discussion we had with the trencher and some of the other contractors, is they don't want to damage the electrical that's crossing it while they're doing the work. So I think once I talk to 3B, if he can assure me that they won't, we may go and do some of the crossings underneath with casing, if he says that's okay, or we'll just wait and either we'll bore it or either open trench it and cover it back up. It'll be a matter of pulling what we've got back about 1 foot, laying it underneath and going on. But I'll let, he's the expert in that, I'll let him advise us on how to do that. Originally I wanted to lay all of that in the trench, and then we got into discussion with one of the contractors about the liability on busting up some of the electricity or some of the water. And water is not such a big issue. We have water to each of the center areas, to the playground, where the restroom's going to be, and where the pollinator garden's going to be. And most of those are outside. There's a few of them going to be on the inside, and I don't see that as a problem. We'll use pegs on everything, and it should be okay. The real question was about the electrical. So, any other questions on the park? That's going to be a pretty hefty goal. We've got a good bid on the granite. It's about $17,000 worth of granite delivered. And we're still talking about the crushed limestone, which is 3/8, and it's about twice that, which is about half of what the original estimate was. So that'll be coming locally out of Magnolia or New Caney. And I've got to go meet with them and talk about a delivery schedule, because obviously I don't have the room to take all of it at one time. We'll take the cushion, which is the crushed limestone first, and get it in place and get it compacted. And then we'll bring, at a separate time, we'll bring the granite in and go from there. But I was pleased with the bid that we got on it. And I've talked with the stone company a couple of times, and we're just going to work out the delivery schedule, and we're not covered up with rock out there, because that's a lot of rock. Okay.
And we are buying the rock, or is it a contractor?
We are.
We are.
Yeah. Avoiding sales taxes. Same way with the lamps. We will buy the lamps. I'm going to let the contractors for water supply the PEX. I'll let the contractors supply the electrical and the casing for it. And then we'll have to see how we're going to build the pedestals for the lamps that we choose for them to set on, and how tall they're going to be. And that's when the council will see what we're looking at for lighting. I've got a meeting with some of the master gardeners who was in the business, in the school business, and put lamps in before that are helping me pick out some to bring to y'all for you to look and see if you're satisfied with that. Any of the lamps that we choose for the walkway, when we do the restrooms, the outer lamps will match those. When we do the chapel, same way. We'll stay with that style. So y'all see that and make the choice on that. I'll just bring you some options. Any other questions on the sidewalk or the park? Okay. TxDOT, they're moving real well with the sidewalk here. We're still talking about enhancing the safety for the walkers with some kind of apparatus there that can be used. We're still talking about the new traffic study. I'll meet, I think, on Wednesday. Is that correct, Jody?
Yes, sir.
With TxDOT at Livingston on the new traffic study, which they had recommended the amount of traffic and just to go with my 35 mile an hour. That'll have to come back through y'all to do it. I'm gonna let them make the recommendation on that and see what they come up with. I don't know if that's what, I know that's what the meeting is about for this district. I don't know if that's what will be recommended, but you'll vote on that before we do it. Slowing the traffic down and some type of devices, whether it be some of the cuts that we're still discussing. If it goes to 35, then they can put in the little rise, the separator between the shoulder and the walking path. So
that was fixing to be my question. Is there going to be a barrier between the shoulder and the?
I asked for one, but they said with the speed limits the way they are, they don't do that because it will damage the car. And I said, what about the person? And so that's when they came back and said, well, wait just a minute, we finished our study and there may be some credence to what you were asking for as far as the speed limit, because if it's 35, then we can put in that little curve between the two.
I mean, it just makes no sense to not put a barrier there, because in front of Berkshire Brothers the other day, an 18-wheeler that was passing through used the whole shoulder as a parking spot. So seriously, what's the point of the sidewalk if we don't have?
Well, there's going to be, there's going to be ordinance signs there, and we are going to start writing tickets. Okay. We've already looked at the citation form. I've talked to council about it, but once we get it all in place, we'll be enforcing it. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, I've got them walking on the shoulder. The goal was to get them away from the shoulder on the other side. There was too many cables on the other side, so they came back and put it next to the shoulder. They didn't tell us that. That's the decision they made. They won't ever do that again. As much conversation as we had about it, and that's why we're meeting on the sidewalk going to the courthouse from the grant number 2. There's some controversy about how to get that stretch from the McMurray insurance all the way to the courthouse at the control crossing. Where's that sidewalk gonna go? So we'll be discussing that and looking. But the rest of that's pretty smooth as far as out to the low to moderate income apartments. It's pretty straight shot, it's pretty easy. Whatever we do here to separate it from the shoulder, that will stick with that project and the one from the junior high, whatever conclusion we come to. So, we'll endeavor to persevere. I know they're tired of hearing me. What good is a sidewalk if we just move the accident over 3 foot? I mean, it makes no sense without some type of barrier, some type of warning, and slowing this traffic down. I've seen these 18-wheelers. By the time they get to Brookshires, they're still going 50, 55 miles an hour. Something has to change. Okay? And we'll see what we have to do that. The last one that we're working on, and we're doing 3 grants at the same time, so it's Jody and Amanda both have been busy along with myself. And then Josh is coming in on this last one, which is the 2025 sewer line. They're doing great. It was not a mistake to direct bore this thing. It's going good. And I look for them to finish the project ahead of time. So they're just on the other side of Chico, coming this way. I did not expect their change of subject coming in and back up because I only got 10 more minutes. I did not expect the concrete work they were doing. But each of these businesses are reaping the benefits from the sidewalk. We're doing a lot of concrete work and new coverage with them, which will improve the drainage for us. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, I'm going to jump into E, which is our city attorney's report. Greg?
Okay, so going with your 10 minutes, I'm going to do this real quick.
You won't be penalized. You spend as much time as you need to spend.
Okay, so in the last few council meetings, we kind of have talked about these games that are popping up everywhere. And so what I told y'all I was going to do was kind of keep an eye out and just see what everybody else was doing about it. Because the Texas Supreme Court said, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, if it looks and smells like a slot machine, it's illegal. I mean, that's basically what it's because it's a lottery, is what they say. And lotteries are illegal in Texas unless we have done an amendment, and which we have for the other lotteries that we have. Those games are lotteries. And I suspect that in January, when the legislators meet, they're going to redo the definition of what a gaming device is to do away with what they call the fuzzy animal exception, where, unless you're only getting this, you get a little toy or something. I think they're going to do away with all of it. But in the meantime, what other cities are doing is 3 different things that they do. One is they are banning all games in the city. That's whether it's a lottery game, pinball machine. There's just absolutely no games or chances in the city, period. Beaumont's done that, Waco has done that. They have just decided it's not worth the effort to have to deal with anything. 2 is they are defining what a game room is and banning game rooms. Meaning some of them have 3 or more games, then it's a game room, or 5 or more games, it's a game room, and they say no game rooms. But what happens if they only have 1 or 2 games? They fall underneath that exception. So then what some of the cities are doing, and then coming up with regulations about where you can put these games, and either by permit or saying that they cannot have children under the age of 18 anywhere near it. They gotta have a line of sight with the customers and the employee, and it's gotta be separate from all the rest of the store. Windows where everybody can see. You basically regulate it and or permit it, where you can actually do a permit and still that regulates it, and you put them where they need to be. So what I'm going to do is, between now and the next council meeting, I'm going to send y'all some suggestions, and I'm going to write an ordinance basically for all that, and for y'all to kind of look at it and see if y'all want to fine tune any of it, because y'all may want to just do away with game rooms altogether. You don't really have any game rooms. I know you got this motel. I haven't been in there to look. These other machines, I think, fall underneath what the Supreme Court said is illegal. And they all got Texas tags on them, because you do a game, you have to register it with the state and pay a tax. You can make them pay a tax to the city too, if you want to, and it's $15 a machine, I think, is the max that you can do, and I just don't know if that's worth doing all the permitting for $15. But I don't know what kind of machine the motel has, but if you do away with all game rooms or all games, then you won't ever have that problem. And it's not because of gambling. It's because of the things that game rooms bring to the city. But one thing is that you got a government interest to make sure that you protect the youth of the community. And the city is so small, and you got 3 main campuses. I'm counting 4 because I still do the old high school as a campus. You're building sidewalks for the kids to walk up and down all the roads, going by all these convenience stores and per se game rooms where you got gambling-like activities going on. You got a government interest to put a stop to that, or do what you want to do. You're not getting into the gaming enforcement. You are protecting the youth and the public welfare of the citizens. But I'm just going to kind of give y'all something, and then y'all kind of figure out what y'all want to do and want to fine tune it. And you may want to do nothing. And then, because at some point in time, the state of Texas is going to have to step in and do something about these machines if they were truly illegal. I just don't think the city should be making that decision about whether this particular machine meets that guideline, because you don't really have a police force at this moment. If that makes sense. But at some point in time, the state is going to have to do something. And I really believe in January they're going to pass some stricter laws, since the courts are saying things are not right.
You have more faith in it than I haven't spent 15 years up there in Austin. There's going to be some lobbyists on the game side.
There are.
And I think if we have a mechanism, like you and I talked about, to not allow game rooms or gaming in the city, we need to go that route. And if we got to jump in the court on it, we will. We need to make a stand, because these things are popping up every time I go somewhere else. There's another one, and like you and I discussed, what's sitting there between those machines or at the end is a ATM machine. And I think you witnessed it, and I have too. They win, they get a coupon. They go put it into ATM, they get cash.
I got a friend right now. If I need to find him, I go to Fort Wayne. He's at that store playing, and he will get a ticket, and that machine's right there, and he puts it in that machine and gives the cash. And that is just that is as illegal as one can
as
be.
it can be, and, you know,
Yeah,
and it's, as you said, it's our responsibility, to look after the youth, to look after what is, not appropriate for our community. And I don't think if we put it out for election, it would.
with the size of Coldsprint and where the schools are, there's plenty of places outside the city limits if somebody wants to have a game room where there are no kids walking through, you know, and all. But that's not for me to decide. I write whatever y'all want me to write, or not write whatever y'all want me to do.
Well, I want these three, and I'll talk to the other two, to let them know what's coming down the pipe. But one of the options I want to just ban them completely, the game rooms, to where we don't get in a deal with, well, you don't have those, but you've got pinball machines, and you don't have those, you got pool halls, just game rooms completely. If they want to play games, they can go outside the city limits and play.
And I mean, I drove around town today and kind of looking, and I don't know of any one place that even got a food table at the moment.
I haven't seen that.
I mean, so this should be a great time for if the council wanted to do it, because you're not going to affect anybody. You're keeping a future problem from happening by doing something now.
Well, you know, with all of the trouble I went through over the game room at the old shopping center, kill it now. There was 38 machines going to go in that business. And when I met with the owner, comes to find out he didn't know that that's what that was. And he thought it was a gift shop. And I said no, and he pulled police agreement. And then I get a call from the guy and said, well, why did you stop me? And I said, you haven't listened to me. I said, this community is not going to support you putting in 38 slot machines and staying open till 4 in the morning. Okay? And it started out with harsh words, but I think he understood what I was saying. I said, if you would have just listened to me from the get-go, you would have gone somewhere else. Go back to Colony Ridge, and that's where you came from. That's where your game room is. So,
well, there's plenty of information out there that shows that when these game rooms stay open late, that it doesn't do anything but invite trouble. And you know, they have police calls, they have disturbances. What's that? Shootings.
well, the council will make the vote. My recommendations are not to have any, and they get to decide that. So do your magic, send us some stuff. We'll get it out to them early, and we'll have a little debate about it at the next meeting, okay?
Okay.
And it'll be on there. I've already made note of it. Let's not wait for Austin to make their mind up, because there's going to be a special session of this or that. It's going to the can's going to get kicked down, because I promise you, the lobbyist for that is pretty strong. All right.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Any questions for council? Okay. Sewer report. Amanda?
Alright, I had 16 adjustments for the grease samples, and then I had 2 cut-offs, and both had paid and are turned back on.
Questions? Okay, go to old business discussion, possible action, interlocal agreement between the city and the San Jacinto County Emergency Service District. We sent the agreement back over there. They said, oh, this is the same thing you sent the first time. I said, yeah, it is. But they came back and was asking for copies of the bills that we had paid. The next day, they were sent the bills that we had paid, and we'll see what happened for the next agenda. So, in some form or fashion, we are communicating, okay? Let's get the bills that they owe us paid, then we'll deal with an MOU or whatever they want to call it. Any questions on that? You'll see that on the next agenda. New business, discussion and possible action on accepting depository bid from the People's State Bank. Questions on that? We do that every year or every other year?
Every other year.
Every other year. So it's time to renew that's who we do business with now. They've been good. They're the only ones that turned in the proposal. So you've got a clear decision that's already made for you.
I make a motion to accept the depository bid.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. A quick briefing on developing, and we're going to get through the gaming first before we get to the permit office. Okay. The permit office I'm working on, and I looked at Lufkin's, I looked at some of the other ones, I looked at Livingston's, and they all start with the ordinance on subdivisions that rolls into unrecorded subdivisions to commercial development to residential development. So the permitting is in those categories, and the first three are pretty heavy on a study of rainfall and where that water's going to go. So I'll work out sort of a draft for y'all to look at. And if you're on board and we're going that way, then once we get through with the gaming business, we'll get off into our permitting office that we're going to open and take care of. We already have the 2 enforcement officers good to go, and in the first ordinance, I was the enforcement officer, so I will back up those folks, and if I need to go take a course, I will. So we will do enforcement of our ordinances.
Okay, on the permit, there was one other thing I wanted to say over there on my report, and I absolutely forgot that.
You got it.
It's about the food trucks.
That has changed. We're out of the food truck.
You are out of the food truck business as far as permitting.
We do not permit anymore.
But you can still regulate where they are, but you're not able to permit them.
Right.
Yeah.
Does that start right now, or?
Yeah.
July 1st.
Might as well start now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no sense in having somebody get a permit that's going to last for 3 or 4 weeks. Okay.
Right.
But we'll go back and look at our food truck ordinance and see if we need to do anything to it as far as location.
Yeah, it said that, well, one thing you want to probably stay in there is so they make sure where they were parking, they're not causing a traffic problem.
Well, it needs to be on private property.
Permission.
Yeah.
So we need to, you put that in there that it is on private property. We're not putting them in parking places. We're not putting on state right-of-ways or city right-of-ways. So they'll have to have permission from the owner to set up. And we'll leave that in there, but I want to go back and read that, or you can read it and see what we need to do to that ordinance. If we need to take the permit out of it due to the statute that just passed, we'll do that. Okay? Anything else?
No,
You just grabbed that?
it hit me.
Okay, sewer rates. We've studied the sewer rates, thanks to Amanda. I have the study here, I've looked at it. Most of our problems is coming from the large customers, commercial customers. I do have some from the smaller ones. More likely that they'll test too much grease, and they'll clean it, and the next month it'll be too much grease, and that's the smaller ones. So those two, I'm looking pretty heavily at what the recommendation was on going up on those fees. We still have probably at this day and age the cheapest basic sewer rate for residents anywhere around, and I'd looked at another $5 per month, which would raise the bill to $25 minimum. So I'll be coming back to y'all at the next meeting with that on the agenda, and you can give me some guidance. But I think the what we're calling the small commercial, where we're going to get them is they're going to have to, until they get that corrected, they're going to have a test every month until we see 2 months in a row, and we'll have to change our ordinance on that. there's too much grease getting in the sewer plant, which is killing the bacteria and creating problems for us. And in the winter, it hardens up in the lines and it stops up our system. So the two-prong attack for the small ones is we're going to inspect about, I think, 3 of them that don't have sample tubes. So if you pull a sample out of it, you're pulling it right through the grease, so it's going to read high. So we're going to ask those folks to comply with the ordinance and put in the sampling tubes at their expense. The large ones, if we identify some objects that are at the sewer plant that could have only come from one place, I'm going to show them that and tell them we're going to recover our cost of expenses by putting a monthly surcharge on their bill to recover the cost of replacing whatever it is over a period of time. So that's something that you need to take a look at for me. And I'll be coming back. Besides going up, we're way low on the large commercial users and they're the majority of what we treat, and they're the majority of what problem we get into, because those 2 pumps that we're replacing, one of them had some clothing wound around which burned it up because it couldn't chew it up. There are 2 and maybe as many as 4 large users that's supposed to have a grinder system coming out of their facility that will assure that whatever comes out is totally ground up. And if someone puts a mop head down there and it gets down there, it will break the teeth off of their grinder pump. Okay? If someone puts a vape deal because they're trying to hide it in their stainless steel, it will break the teeth off of theirs, and then it will just open, and whatever comes in that sewer will come down to us. We do have weirs where we can catch that stuff, and if we can identify it back to a user, the only place it can come from, I'll go sit down with them and say, here's the pictures, here's what we got, here's the evidence. So here's what the cost was, and either we'll choose how we're going to surcharge this back to y'all, or you can tell us how you want to do it, or what you're going to do. If you're going to tell me you're going to maintain that grinder, and it may be in our inspection of the grease traps, we also need those big users, we need to inspect the grinder each time. So those are some of the things we'll be looking at changing the sewer ordinance on. We're probably looking at a 4 to 5 month process to get that done. But we're spending far too much general fund money to fix things that really should not be broken the way they're getting broken. Okay? Y'all okay on that? Okay, that'll be the briefing on these sewer rates that we'll be working on from month to month.
Well, can I ask a question there? Yeah, because I haven't looked at it. So the ordinance and things that you have with the sewer down, about them having to have that, is it saying that they have to inspect it?
It doesn't. Whoever, when they built these facilities, it was part of the engineering. The engineering put it in, and it's their grinder pump. We never, that I can see, mandated that they put a grinder pump.
Okay.
Now, having worked in the prison system and worked with the city of Livingston and our sewer out at Polonsky, there's grinder pumps, okay, and there's pre-treatment areas. And we may get off into that, where that goes into a tank and they pre-treat it before they send it to us. Because they would not service a prison. It's not just Polonsky, it's some of the other new ones that I dealt with, because the criminal minds are notorious on creating problems for everybody. And they'll figure out a way to stop it up, cause a leak, or disrupt what's going on. So that was the reason why the cities, the larger cities that had prisons built, that they serviced their sewage, not only have the grinders, but also have a pre-treatment area to where if they pour a bunch of gasoline or something down there, it's gonna catch it and they're gonna have to pre-treat it. So I don't know if we're going to that extreme. I think that if we all work together and if they have functioning grinder systems, then I think that's gonna solve the problem. If not, we can come back and do something with a pre-treatment tank.
Well, at some point in time, somebody needs to be inspecting those periodically. to
Yes,
ensure-
we do the monthly grease samples, which is actually quarterly, but if they fail, we do it again. And that, once we identify the ones, then I gotta go back and identify and talk to some of the owners and take a look at. I know the one that's giving me the fit was supposed to be replaced. It was just wide open a couple of years ago when we had the problem. I don't know if it got replaced, I don't know if it's working, I don't know if the teeth are still working, because it comes down the 4 or 6 inch line and the teeth interlock like this and it just churns it all up for you and it goes on down. Well, when you get some solid steel wire or apparatuses in there, it breaks the teeth off and it doesn't function like it's supposed to. Then you get particles of clothing that go down. During COVID, not only did we have the clothing, but I had carpet off the floor come down to us. We had all of the, what is considered hazardous waste, the gloves, the mask, from restaurants, from whoever was doing the cleanup come to us. Those items weren't so bad other than we had to fish them out because they didn't tear up anything. But the mop head, polyester clothing that gets wrapped in there, it won't chop up, and the vapes are the ones that I know of that have given us a fit. So those are some things that we'll look at. Okay, and I'll take a look at the ordinance. We're going to attack the grease traps first, and we can do that. The ordinance tells us how to do it, and we'll go from there. Any questions on that? Okay, before we adjourn, I've got a rather long, we're getting out of here 15 minutes late, but we're getting out of here 15 minutes early. We're going to talk about discussion of possible action on permitting, discussion of possible action on DSD, discussion of possible action on sewer ordinance, discussion of possible action on 2025 audit contract, discussion of possible action on game ordinance, and anything else of the laundry list I can say on that. So we've got a lot of business we've got to take care of. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible and try to get you a lot of the information out. I noticed that our horse riders are now using our sidewalk out there, so I'll have to do some signage on that, which is rather than riding their horses on the shoulders. But that comes with the territory, okay? Any questions from anybody? If not, a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor? We're out of here. Thank y'all for coming.